It's a big day today. CEOs of 4 of the biggest tech companies are going to be testifying before Congress. Google, Facebook, Apple, and Amazon. So hundreds of billions of dollars, actually trillions of dollars in market cap are going to be sitting all at the same table and are going to be facing questions. Now, this began as a bipartisan investigation into whether these companies are too big, into antitrust. Yeah. But there have been a lot of problems since they kicked off. And basically what's happened is that Republicans who are on the committee have decided that they want to defend these big tech companies. And instead, what they're going to ask them about is conservative bias. And sure, you know what? I think there is conservative bias on these platforms in the way that rules are enforced, but that is all just downstream effect of how big they are and how market concentration. Right. Now, they have decided, though, not to talk about market concentration and antitrust whatsoever. How do we know this? Well, our friend of the show, Matt Stoller, he got a hands on the GOP memo. He says, quote, enjoy it if you want a memo that was probably written by antitrust defense attorneys for Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple. We even have a little bit of that copy of that memo, Krystal. And what do they say? They're like, we don't want to punish success in America. It's like nobody wants to punish success. People want freedom in our marketplace.
Right. And you're so right. And let's leave this up for a minute because I am going to read some of this and you guys can read for yourself because it is like total clown show stuff here. Because it totally misses the point. If all you're focused on is the political bias and the conservative bias, the reason that that is a problem is because these companies are so large and have so much impact. Yeah. So if you care, because look, you're never going to have a group of people that you feel comfortable, have your interests at heart. And I worry as a leftist also about the political bias. But the reason I worry is because they are so large. That is the whole fundamental issue here. So some of the things that they say is that antitrust law should be used to promote freedom, competition, and the American dream, not to punish success or attack companies solely because they are large. Many Democrats seek to use opportunities to change antitrust laws, an opening to undo a century's worth of legal precedents that gave rise to the greatest economy in history and to Europeanize the American business climate. They also say that, you know, they're already subject to different investigations by the Trump administration, Attorney General Barr, and so we're going to leave it to them. There's another part of the memo where they're like, it wouldn't be appropriate. We don't have enough information to go forward with any new laws. So again, it also goes to your point about they don't want to govern.
No, this is complete lack of governance.
They just want to complain as a talking point about the, you know, fake bias and conservative bias. They don't actually want to do anything that would be good for the American people or that would fundamentally change the structure so that no matter what your political persuasion is, you feel like your interests are being protected.
It's a total abdication of leadership because, look, you want to know what spawned the antitrust hearings and much of the movement back in the 1900s? We made these people and dragged their asses to Washington, and they had to testify before Congress. All of the robber barons, all of these people, John D. Rockefeller, many of these other people were forced to come to D.C., justify their businesses in hearings in public record where Americans could see, reporters could report. Having closed-door DOJ, you know, all these other things, subpoenas, we have no idea what's going on there. We might not find out for 10 years if you go back and you read the history of the Microsoft antitrust trials. This is exactly, I think, the same thing. And it goes to show how this whole process was basically put off the rails from the very beginning, which is that the Republicans basically made the push. They wanted all 4 to come and testify at exactly the same time. Now, that obviously doesn't make any sense because what did I say yesterday? Amazon is the largest e-commerce platform on the internet. Okay, so that's Amazon. That is its own hearing. Apple is a hardware manufacturer of phones that also has an app store and makes computers. Has nothing to do with Amazon. Facebook is a social media platform where the concern is much more about their data privacy ownership and about whether they're going up and buying all of their competitors. And Google is a search engine. Each one of these are titanic industries that deserve their own hearing with just that person. How much are we going to lose in lost information by not having 4 hours with each individual CEO?
By throwing them all together. And, you know, these members of Congress are not well educated in the nuances here. I mean, your hopes should be incredibly low for what you actually get out of this hearing. But part of why I find it really upsetting is this is one of these areas where there was an appearance that maybe there could be some overlap here.
Right.
Because conservatives were worried about the political bias, but it was like, okay, maybe that could be a window into actually understanding the problem of antitrust and doing something about it.
Yeah.
A gateway drug, exactly, where it sort of opens your eyes. Oh, this is actually an issue. But what you see laid out very clearly in this memo is that no, all they want to do, it's like the equivalent on the left of when Kamala Harris was like, and that's why Twitter should ban Donald Trump.
That's exactly
it's the conservative equivalent of that. You're just like signaling, you're like conservative signaling, virtue signaling, but you don't actually want to deal with the problem. You just want the talking point and to get some like retweets on
Well,
Twitter.
even more important, they want the money. Let's all be honest here. That table is going to be which they're sitting at will be worth, upwards of $750 billion, I think, in terms of the net worth that will be sitting there.
Well, and they'd love to have a job prospect after they get out of Congress
prospects. And remember, who is the person who is leading Amazon's antitrust defense practices?
Yeah.
It's the former head of the Obama DOJ criminal division. The corruption runs so deep here. These guys have so much money. They are the most elite players in all of Washington. You think Bezos owned the Washington Post or bought it for charity purposes? No, I don't think so. So you just have to understand here what they're up against. And if you're an idiot or you're just like a normal Republican congressman, you just want to go in there and complain about how Trump's tweet got censored or something like that, and you don't want to deal with the actual market conditions that are leading us to the situation where we are right now. So it's a real tragedy that this is the way it went down, but it's also a perfect demonstration of how our politics work.
Indeed. More rising for you after this.